I think one of the issues, one of the arguments, and we saw it on the rant a few episodes ago, is that when you're using these models, your competition is in some sense seeing your data and learning from your data. And it's something people need to understand. It's the argument for on-prem. Salim?
No, I just double down on the same thing. You've got to do your own, you've got to own your own proprietary data. And I think over time, people will move everything to on-prem that's sensitive in any way. A model that you can control locally is way more valuable than a marginally smarter model that you have to access through somebody's API, right?
Yep.
So organizations now can fine-tune their proprietary knowledge and around it, put it into secure environments, and totally avoid sending any sensitive information to the cloud. This is going to be huge for regulated industries and sovereign applications and all sorts of stuff. So
then you have my enterprises in the private sector who have the same issues. They're like, why would they get access to my data if they're going to build my alpha? Why wouldn't I control the weights? Why wouldn't? And that's where you get this partnership. What aligns me with NVIDIA, and I think is what the technical customers want, which is control over their compute, their models, their data stack, and their alpha. They want to know they own the means of production. It's not being transferred to someone else. They're not interested in some fake deploy co that somehow is deploying tokens that transfers the alpha to a third party. And the jig is up. These models have been completely irresponsibly oversold. And the sell is, it's dangerous for everyone, which is why I can give it to all your adversaries, but I can't give it to the Department of War, or I can't safely give it to an enterprise in this country without being certain that the alpha of that business could transfer to this model tomorrow, i.e. I have no business, no job.
You sound pretty angry.
No, this is the voice of American business that is being channeled through me. And I'm telling you, it is absolutely a problem for this country because we are on the cutting edge of every single AI technology. But if you're going to triply oversell something, and by the way, the enterprises are just tired of it.
Maybe a little bit of what you're hearing on your sales calls for 8090. You're talking to enterprises. They're hearing all these reports, whether it's you, Dario, this pod, other places talking about, hey, open source is ready. This is the moment. Get control, AI sovereignty, et cetera.
So, I mean, look, I think in the future, it may be the case that open source takes share. Fine. It's because the market's so big. And there is always a market for open because open is more controllable. It's more customizable. You can own it. You get the data sovereignty. You get the sovereignty, but it's also more work. So there are different use cases. There's different parts of the market.
That's actually very interesting. The more work part there, Sachs, is super interesting. Like 3 to 6 months ago, it was so much work to stand these up. And now there's so many intermediaries building the harnesses that default to it, that is getting worked out. But that has always been the issue with open source for sure.
Can I just ask you though, and this is something I initially learned about, on one of the BTech events that you guys put on. Is this all about on-premise, like people building out their own systems, or no? It's just more broadly in the big hyperscalers in their data centers.
I mean, right now, I would say the bulk of this AI data center build out is led by hyperscalers and neoclouds. I mean, Don't forget, companies like CoreWeave and Nebius and all the neoclouds. And Sovereign is where, yes, there is a huge build out happening, and you could categorize them more as on-prem. But I would say, you have to look for where these LLMs are deployed.
And then even Nebius, which is a neocloud, if you parse back their commentary, there were a couple things that were interesting, and that is, once again, suggesting spot pricing continues to be really strong, but then also the uptake of enterprises and sovereigns and that other part of that other piece of the pie that doesn't get as much attention. Everybody gets focused on hyperscaler CapEx. Half of the AI spend out there, if you talk to Jensen and listen to their calls, is enterprise neocloud sovereigns. And that's growing really fast. And that's going to be a really important component here in addition to the hyperscalers and the open AIs and the Anthropics.
I want to make a quick point here. I think it's important. If we actually have model convergence, when intelligence becomes a commodity, and we've already said, we've shown the numbers, it's becoming a commodity, then the value moves to the application layer, right? This is the same pattern we saw with electricity and compute and the internet. The infrastructure commoditizes and the applications explode. And I think this is important for entrepreneurs out there, right? Move to the application layer. That's where the juice is going to be as this tech really accelerates and commoditizes.
Or the infra layer. I mean, it's not obvious to me that it all goes to the app layer. I mean, there's a lot of value in the infra underneath as well.
Well, so sovereign AI is about to explode. The sovereign AI right now is a gold mine of opportunity if you're not an American. Or if you are and you want to move.
One last point